introduce ourselves. I'm Kendall, and I was the photographer.
I'm Janelli, and I was the observer.
I'm Abby, and I was the environmentalist.
I'm Savannah, and I was the physician.
I'm Natalie, and I was the leader.
I'm Ronaldo, and I was the marathoner.
So we had a really interesting experience while we were doing our simulation because all of us got really frustrated while we were doing it just because the internet connection wasn't all great. We had to keep on reloading our page. We did not know really how the simulation worked, and we were a little bit confused with the site.
We were confused because some of our decisions we would plan to go to a certain camp, and the computer would decide that it didn't want us to go to that camp, and then we would all get a little frustrated. But we learned to just work to all try to go to the same camp, so we'll go to a neutral ground so we can make sure everyone's okay and reaches the same goal.
Yeah, and we all agreed it was this sick mind game that was psychologically playing with us. But it was obviously an activity that suited how we would interact with each other. So we went from there and just tried to work our best, but it was very frustrating.
I think another thing that was kind of frustrating is we all had individual goals that we had to keep in mind, but we also had a group goal. So it was hard at times for us to set our individual goal aside and keep in mind that we are in a group and we were trying to get somewhere together.
I feel also the design was also kind of off, and every time that we wanted to do something we couldn't, and there was we tried to push certain things and it wouldn't let us go or tell us we were back in round 2 when we were in round 4, and that was really
I think one thing that we failed at was having a construction or a structure in the first place. And in the article it said failure to communicate because there is no construction. And we didn't really set how we were gonna do things. We didn't really socialize in that manner. We didn't really decide how we were gonna do things, why we were doing this. We didn't set goals as a group, and I feel that we could have done to make this experience a lot better.
Also, scheduling was really difficult just because we all have a really busy schedule and everything, but we're also, worried about getting this done, when we all can, what works for each other together. So this would be an example of a professional group just because we do have to meet. We are required to meet up and complete this project together, cooperate with one another. We're not volunteering, and taking time out of our day to just meet up. We have to do it, and it's ultimately for class. Our objective was to work well together, to understand each other while we set up the meetings, and also while we were doing the simulation, and kind of taking our own personal interests and then taking it to bringing it together with the group's interest as well.
Yeah, I think we all had a shared objective to get an A or hopefully get a good grade in this class, so that makes it more professional as well, and taking it to another level as we all one goal to do really well in this class. But I think we also went around the table making sure for timing as well. It took us one of the longest parts of it was trying to figure out time for us all to meet.
Yeah, that was the most difficult part.
Yeah, we thought it was less about the actual simulation and more about us being able to communicate with each other and working around each other's schedule. And we did.
Yes.
I think another thing that was hard is some of us had a hard time sacrificing other plans that we had previously made to make time for this. So we were but we have this going on, we have that going on, and we needed to be able to adjust that to all meet.
Yeah, another thing that we kind of lacked was socialization. So, for example, in the last recitation, we had some time to know each other and talk about how we were gonna do stuff. But only 4 of us was there, and
they gave our...
I feel we kind of socialized during the project. We kind of really bonded as we had to all communicate. And even if the communication was complaining about the program and not knowing what we were doing, or the Wi-Fi, or even it was really interesting. I felt there was a certain type of socialization even when we were just reading it in the very beginning and trying to figure out who our parts were, because that kind of just immediately made us connected as we became our roles.
Yeah, we all had specific roles, and they were formal because we all wanted to do the same thing, but they were informal because it wasn't you're doing this part of the project, you're doing this. It was something that we all had to do together, So the roles were like pretty much that we all just wanted to be like they're doing the same role equally and like just as like good as the person next to you. And our like norms, like for rules of conduct, we necessarily all just made sure we cooperated with each other and that wasn't someone that was like holding the group back and that we like were all putting in the same amount of effort and like all cared about it equally.
Yeah, we all kind of like it was interesting how like you were a leader and you kind of immediately took on that role, and you were very patient, making sure we all decided what we were doing, and we were making sure like we were communicating with each of us, and if like when Abby was sick, we were making sure, and you were making sure that she got it. So we all had to like immediately work as a team to get oxygen, communicate. Even though the Wi-Fi wasn't working, we weren't sure what we were doing. We were still like our roles throughout the whole thing.
To the side and like make sure everyone
Yeah.
else is like
It's all about
understanding kind of each other's needs, and like a lot of us aren't used to that. We're kind of like used to being on our own and like doing things individually.
Yeah.
Like
And I think this falls into like the transition model as well. Like we all had one thing in common, and we all had a very strong belief in it. And it was like in the mind. Like I was just really trying to get across that like me and Natalie were just like this really is like a mind game.
It was total mine.
Yeah, and we like all understood that and we all believed it, but it just kind of rose up the question. Like so because we thought this was some group members believed that our decisions didn't matter, whereas others thought that like either way we should still like work together as a group, because like even though the like simulation does its own thing, we should still like try to do it all together. So it just kind of rose that question, like we all agree and understand that it was a mind game, but we didn't all agree on how to go about it.
Yeah. So the problem would be like how to reach a consensus on a specific decision.
Yeah.
I thought it was good though, like in the beginning, how we all like kind of stated our goals of, okay, so our character, from what we read, mine only needed to go to Camp 2, even though it didn't work like that. Like I was content in Camp 2, and we all knew where we wanted to go. Like I want to summit and I don't. And I think that was a good part of what we did, being able to communicate in the very beginning of what we wanted to do for each of our people.
Yeah. And I think like later into it, because I just kind of wrote down like how, because I was the observer, so I really didn't have to do anything. I didn't have like any decisions to make. So I just kind of sat around and like, well, I was also like discussing with everyone. We were all just being very frustrated and like flustered, and it was just so. It was at round 4 where we were just like at our peak of frustration, and that's where we set the ground. We were like, guys, we really need to communicate and we really need to cooperate. And we really need to figure out, like, come to a consensus, you know, like, where we're just, like, making this decision, even though the simulation will do what it wants. And so by round 5, I was, like, so happy, and I even wrote it down. I was like, we finally came to a decision as a group, and we're all, like, I think it was, like, the 4th, like, station 4 or something, yeah. It was on round 5 that we were good.
Yeah. Finally, towards the end.
Yeah.
The rescue machine comes.
No, like we all didn't make it to the top, and like we didn't succeed in the simulation. Like I think at the end we all did succeed to come together as a group, even though in the simulation like our results weren't all that great because some of us got rescued, like I did.
I feel like if we would have gotten like to the top, it would have been like a different experience.
Yeah, like something we could have done, I believe, very differently in the beginning was start by structuring our group and start like setting a communication, like communication. And
I think like for me as a physician, I wanted to be able to send people what they needed, but I could never be at the same camp as those who needed it because the simulation just kept moving them around. So that still would have come up because we couldn't have planned for that.
Yeah, which I think is interesting, like how you can't plan what you want to still be like, in the and be communicating even when things don't go as wanted to. Things don't go as structured. Being able to still go with the flow and communicate and remain calm and talk about what you want to do.
Clearly, we would understand each other's like messages, but that doesn't mean that we all agreed on it.
Yeah.
Just like the social construction model, like it takes into account a lot of things. Like you do send messages and the other person might understand what you're saying, but they still won't agree with
Yeah,
you. So
so
that
that
doesn't
happens
change
a
it
lot.
anyway.
You can compare it to like the book and the 5 dysfunctions. That book, it like talked about how conflict is like a necessity to like reach end goals, and before like you can't just ever have a perfect group. It's not gonna happen. We had like a conflict, not like major conflicts, just like different decisions until we like realized that we all needed to make like the same decision.
I mean, usually conflict makes groups stronger too, and I feel like that worked with our group. Like by the end of it, we were definitely more tight knit through all the conflict than without it.
And even though we did have like our differences, like it's not like at the end of the thing we were like
Strangling
mad at each other.
each other, yeah.
I think actually by the end of it we're just all happy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
wow, we
We're
got
just
this
glad
done
we were
together.
done.
Yeah.
So, so the conflict wasn't bad at all. It
No.
was little discussions and like disagreements, and again we did understand what each of us wanted, but that doesn't mean we agreed with it. Like
exactly.
we knew right from the beginning, like, yo, I don't agree with you, but still, I think by the end of it, with the conflict, we all figured that out. So.
I think also clearly stating that we don't agree was an important part too, because if we
Yeah.
kept it in, that we really would have missed out.
And we also had to learn to trust each other, and because if there's an absence of trust, like in the book, also in the book 5 Assumptions, there's no, like, you can't really reach a goal with someone if you don't, like, trust their opinion. Like, in the book, it talked about one girl that was, like, louder than everyone else, and, like, they didn't like her, but they trusted her opinion, but because they didn't like her, she, like, left, but we all liked each other, and then we also trusted each other because we knew that each other's inputs mattered to, like, have our group succeed.
I think as the leader, I did feel like everyone trusted me, and that made it, I think, a lot easier for me, that I did feel like everyone trusted me, even though I didn't know I was going to be the leader until I got on the simulation, like, okay, I'm the leader, but I saw that, you know, nobody really said anything, or, like, everyone was like, okay, they were fine with that, I was fine with that, and it made me definitely feel more comfortable that people trusted me, and I think that helped me stay calm.
I think that as it went on as well, we began to have more trust for each other because, like we said, we didn't really know each other that well beforehand, and so as we moved through conflicts, we began to trust each other more and more near the end of the simulation. For sure.
Yeah, and relating to the reading of the Science of Building Great Teams, it was really good to see like people trying to make a consensus because it's like states as a quality of an ideal team member as a person who tries to get input from every part of the team. So I could see you as a leader working that way. So I think it was pretty good in that sense.
Like, we all, like, made sure everyone was doing everything right, and, like, made sure we weren't having too many, like, extreme conflicts that ruined us.
I think a strong part of this like group and dynamic that came out of it was also because like the concept of institutionalization, because in school we like all have to act a certain way, and in a group we all have to act a certain way, and here we just expected. And once we got here, we were expected to treat each other with a certain amount of respect. We weren't just gonna like totally blow each other off, totally be rude to each other, and totally walk out, because then we all would have failed. And we knew we all wanted to do well and have that level of respect and trust as well.
Yeah, I think it was like really frustrating for me just because I was like the observer, so I didn't have any decisions, so I couldn't understand you guys when you guys were making decisions. I was just like, oh, like this is so frustrating. Like I'm just sitting here watching you guys be frustrated, and it frustrates me. And I'm just like, I just wanted to like mediate everything and just be like, look, guys, like we have to do this so we can like,
I mean, and we're gonna talk about how frustrated we all got, but we all did really well, like, remaining really calm. At the same time, like, we were frustrated, but not with each other. We were, like, frustrated with this. But we were still, like, all pretty, like, calm and, like, good with each other.
Yeah, this was literally like climbing Mount Everest. It was like a metaphor. Like it was such a struggle, and then once we got to the top and rescued, and take it to the bottom. Yeah.
The middle for sure was the hardest part, though. Like getting to that middle point was just like beginning. You're like, okay, we can do this, and then the middle was just like people were getting sick. People were like, having separate goals. It was just very stressful at some points too.
So it's overall.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Was it a mind game?
Was it?
Is it?
Should we say bye? 1, 2, 3.
Bye!